Another key area of the battle space in which the Russians have had significant problems is in the area of logistics. The Russians have had to resort to some desperate, often embarrassing measures, to make up for their lack of preparation, poor planning and rampant corruption. Photographs of damaged and modified Russian trucks show telltale signs of Moscow's logistical struggles and suggest its efforts are being undermined by its reliance on conscripts, widespread corruption and use of civilian vehicles, not to mention the huge distances involved in resupplying its forces, or Ukraine's own highly motivated, tactically adept resistance. Think about modern warfare and its likely images of soldiers, tanks and missiles will spring to mind. But arguably more important than any of these is something on which they all rely: the humble truck. Armies need trucks to transport their soldiers to the front lines, to supply those tanks with shells and to deliver those missiles. In short, any army that neglects its trucks does so at its peril. Everything that an army needs to do its thing comes from a truck, says Trent Telenko, a former quality control auditor for the United States Defense Contract Management Agency, who is among those parsing the images for clues as to how the war is going. The weapon isn't the tank, it's the shell the tank fires. That shell travels by a truck, Telenko points out. Food, fuel, medical supplies and even the soldiers themselves. The presence of all of these rest on logistical supply lines heavily reliant on trucks, he says. And he has reason to believe there's a problem with those supply lines. Trucking takes a lot of time, said Kaufman, and the tyranny of distance becomes really challenging because they're trying to push a large force down some fairly narrow roads. And it's not just one trip. Supply trucks and other support vehicles have to constantly shuttle back and forth. On average, each Russian soldier goes through about 440 pounds of supplies a day, including food, fuel, ammunition, medical support and more. Russia has sent more than 150,000 troops into Ukraine, organized into various formations. In one notorious incident early in the war, a 40-mile convoy of Russian tanks, armored vehicles, and towed artillery became stalled 19 miles outside Kyiv, bogged down according to Britain's Ministry of Defense not only by Ukrainian resistance but mechanical breakdowns, too. Last month, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told CNN's Don Lemon that Russia had made missteps and struggled with logistics, while on Saturday a senior U.S. defense official said the Russians had still not solved their logistics and sustainment problems, and would be unable to reinforce their forces in eastern Ukraine with any great speed. Phillips O'Brien, professor of strategic studies at the University of St Andrews in Scotland, sees another bad sign for Russian truck logistics: its use of civilian trucks to replace military ones lost in battle. Civilian trucks are not made to military grade. They're not made to carry the loads, they're not made to carry the specific pieces of equipment, and in many cases cannot even operate off-roads, O'Brien says. The rigors of war are already trying enough for the sturdiest military-grade truck, let alone a civilian one. A single mile in peacetime, if you drive it in wartime, is like 10 or 20 miles because you are pushing the truck hard with huge payloads, O'Brien says. Switching between the two introduces a maintenance problem, as spare parts may not be compatible. And, as O'Brien points out, you don't want to have to get a new truck every time an old one breaks down. Compounding the problem, according to Alex Vershinin, a former U.S. Army officer who served 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, is that when vehicles do break down, Russia has limited resources to recover them. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you can be alerted to our next video. We'll see you again soon on Warzone.